Okay, so alliteration is when it's a consonant. Assonance is when it's a vowel. So when we had the elephants, 11 emerald elephants, that was assonance. And assonance and alliteration go hand in hand because they're both where? The sound's coming from where?
The beginning of the word.
The beginning of the word, good. Okay, so here are some examples, okay, of alliteration. Bobby broke his bat at Bart's house. What's the alliteration?
B.
Good. Making the what sound? Good. Sugar makes the sauce sweet.
S.
In the sound? Good. Or, did you notice the first word?
Sugar.
Yeah, so what does that sound at the beginning? And the other ones were what you said the first time.
So.
Yeah. Would that still count as assonance or alliteration, you think, if the sounds are a little different?
Yeah.
Why?
Because the letters are the same.
The letters are the same? Okay. And then finally, the worm wiggled when we touched its wet skin.
W.
Sound?
What?
Good. So what I'd like to do now is just have you guys read a couple poems together and identify the alliteration and the sounds that are the same, okay? And tell me where they are. So, Hadrian, I'd like you to read the first poem. It's called Cat. Goran, I want you to listen and to identify the alliteration or the assonance.
Lounging, licking, leaping, prancing, pouncing, picking. Corners, closets, crouching. Tail twirling, twitching, sniffing, sneezing, sensing, sneezing. Hissing, puffing, hunting. Pretty, purring, preying. Curiosity, kitty, killing. 9 long lives living.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Gordon, what do you notice about that poem as he's reading that?
That every single line has an alliteration or assonance.
Okay, good. And so, like, could you just go line by line and tell me what the letter and the sound is?
Okay, in the first line, it's an L and L.
Okay.
And then in the second line, it's a P and K. And then in the third line, it's a C and K. And then the third line, it's a T and T. Or yeah, fourth, it's a T and T. And then the fifth line, it's an S and S. And then the fifth line, it's a H and H. And then the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th line, it's a P and K. And the 8th line, it's a C, but there's also a K.
But what is the sound, though?
K.
So even when all the C's and the K's make that same sound. Okay, that's a good observation. I really like that you noticed that. Very good. Will you read the next poem to Hadrian and let him try the same thing now?
Okay.
And it's okay for you to read along if you want. While he's reading it out loud, okay?
A slippery, sloppery, slipping snail slithered, slimed, and slid on the floor. Feeling hurried, harried, hungry, and helpless, as starlings screeched, spiraled, and saw that slippery, sloppery, slipping snail, who slithered, slimed, and slid on the floor, a fluttering of feathers fell frighteningly fast, meaning that slippery, sloppery, slipping snail, who slithered, slimed, and slid was no more.
What did you notice about that one?
I noticed that most of them they weren't all the same first letter. Like,
Okay. Like you mean in different lines?
yeah, because some of them had A at the beginning and some of them just started with just the S. or
Okay,
F.
so let's do the same thing as Goran did on the last poem. Go line by line and tell me what the letter and the sound is they're making, okay?
Line 1 is slippery, sloppery, slipping snail.
Now you don't have to like do the words, just the letter and the sound.
A,
For line 2?
no, that's line 1. A, slippery.
Well, but is A the same sound as all the words?
No,
What is the sound you're hearing the most?
S.
Good. And the sound? Okay, next.
S,
Okay.
F,
Actually, it's
H, S, F, 5, S, 6, S, 7, F, 8, S.
Okay, good. We can stop there. So, anyways, you're starting to see now that there's one dominant sound and letter in each line, right? There's one that's more than the others. Okay, good. Now, let's talk about looking back at cat and looking at the words they use for their alliteration. What does it have an effect on you as a reader? Talk to each other about that, okay? Maybe look at it one more time. Just look at the poem. Then tell me what you think those sounds are doing to you as a reader. Are they helping you what?
They can tell you what the rest of the line is kind of going to be about in the beginning sentence.
They kind of say about what the main subject of that sentence is going to be, right? The main letter of that.
Okay.
What the sound is going to make.
What else?
It can kind of mean something about the words that will be used, because you can know that they all start with an L.
What is that? Let me ask you this. There's one thing that poetry does a lot of times is it makes an image in your head. Are you getting anything like that from these words? I mean, does it make you think does it make you see the cat in a certain way?
Yeah.
What would it be? Tell me a little bit about that. How would you see the cat because of that?
Because it uses more describable words when that describe it in a different way than lounging. It could just be jumping or leaping, but it says lounging, which makes it feel that he's just relaxing.
Okay, good. Yeah, so it has a feel for one thing. I like that. Anything that you're noticing?
With some of them, the kind of with prancing, it doesn't say that it's running.
Okay.
Just shows that the cat is just doing it just more comfortably a little bit.
When you're getting all those sounds that go together like that, what does that make you feel when you're reading that poem?
Well, when they're all together, it makes you feel that all the things in one line are all a certain type of thing, and that they all go together.
Okay. Can you give me an example? Because I like that explanation very much.
Because it says tail twirling and twitching, you know that everything in that line is about the tail and just the tail.
And how it would move and what it would do. Good. Okay, and that gives you a good visualization of that, right?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. I like that answer a lot. Anything that you would like to add, Hadrian? Okay. Well, what I'd like to do now... Oh, and let me just ask one more question. Would that poem have the same effect, do you think, if they did not use alliteration? Why not? Talk about that together.
Because I think alliteration, it can describe more things in a better way if they're all starting with the same letter, because it's all about the same thing in the same line.
Tell them why you agree.
I agree because you can kind of know what other things will be in that sentence.
If I asked you guys to try making an alliteration of your own, not necessarily a whole poem, but an alliteration of your own, do you think you could do it?
Yeah.
And, an easy way to start an alliteration poem for a first-time beginner like ourselves would be using your name. So, what is your name?
Adrian.
Starts with an,
H.
and the sound is. Write your name, and I want you to just come up with as many words as you can that start the same as your name. Your name,
Goran.
sound,
Good.
same thing, okay? So right now, just put your names at the top of the paper. Make a list of words that have the same starting sound and letter. Or not necessarily the letter, if you can make the sound in a different letter. I'm going to give you 60 more seconds to come up with as many words as you can. And then I'm going to ask you to do one more thing after that. some good choices there too. Nice. What do you guys almost like a title together right there, huh? 30 seconds. And stop. All right. Read your list, please.
I have husky, hello, happy, huge, hug, hard.
All right. And those are some very good words to go with, Adrian.
And three I like is put in a pattern is huge, hard, hug.
Okay, what's the pattern?
I just like it because with huge, sometimes huge things are hard.
Okay.
And I imagine that a huge thing was giving a hard hug.
Okay. So you're getting a little bit ahead of what I'm going to ask you to do next.
Okay, I got great, good, grant, gecko, gum, guy, got, get, and give.
Okay, good. So you got, and so you're very strong in that g. Where is that sound coming from, by the way?
From the beginning of the word.
Okay. And what is your sound again?
Eight.
Huh, was H. Okay. What I'd like you to do now, and you've already kind of like gotten ahead of me a little bit by selecting your 3 favorite words. I'd like you to select some words from there that you could turn into one sentence with your name to describe yourself. Okay. So using it now, you can use more than just the H words or just the G words, but I want you to have say at least 3, like you said, at least 3 of the words from your list in your sentence. Okay. And your name.
Do we have to use 3?
Well, you already picked 3, so why not?
Or do I have to use those 3?
You can use different 3 if you'd like, but it does have to have that huh sound, and I want your name in it too, please. I thought you were going to say that. Oh, what about happy husky? That's good. Leave it like that. You got yours going?
Yeah.
All right, Adrian, please read out what you came up with.
I have Adrian, the happy, huge husky.
And I almost thought you were going to put hugger at the end. Adrian, the happy, huge, the happy husky hugger. Okay.
I got Goran is a great person who got a good gecko.
Who got a good gecko? Well, it is poetry, so you can play with that a little bit, I guess. Now, I ask you guys to like kind of come up with new lines now and continue what you said about yourself, but with different sounds. Like, could you change that? Maybe if you guys switch letters, could you come up with some G letters and G sounds, and could you come up with some H letters and H to continue to describe yourself? Let's try that real quick.
Can we make a list real quick?
You can just go ahead and write the sentence and make up the words as you're going if you like. If it's easier to make the list, make the list. You can even use the same list that you guys have if you like. Sharing each other's list. Good. I like that. Is that one done? Okay, cool. What did you come up with?
Goran is a happy person who gives huge hugs.
Nice.
I got Adrian, the giant gecko gum.
Gecko gum. Interesting. Alright, so you guys are getting this down, I think. Okay, so it looks like you could employ and recognize alliteration very easily. And then what is important to know is that not only the letter, but what?
The sound.
Is the same, right? All right, great, guys. Tomorrow, when we come back to this, we're going to see how we can apply that with, and maybe practice a little bit more on the assonants where we have vowels that sound the same, okay?
I changed the last part of my G sentence.
Gecko gummy.
I want to change it to Hadrian the giant gecko guy.
Oh, the gecko guy. Okay, yeah, you can change that, sure. And I want you to hold on to what you did. We're going to take that and we're going to revise it tomorrow and see if we can, like, make it sound a little bit more, give it some attributes that, are things that are from you guys' personalities, okay? All right, good. Well, thank you very much. I believe I hear the bell ringing. It's time for dinner, so thank you very much, gentlemen.